afternoon. Today is April 13th, and I'll continue to talk about the latest coronavirus updates and news. So, the first news that I would like to talk about today is that all over Europe, countries are beginning to ease lockdowns. So, Italy and Spain, who have both been hit and seen as the center of the pandemic last month of Europe, is emerging from the worst. And experts are saying that a fall in hospitalizations and deaths in recent weeks is a trustworthy trend. And in Italy, a handful of businesses will reopen their beginning on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, though the country's border lockdown will remain until May 3rd. Spain has also started to ease its restrictions, with some construction workers and others set to head back to work this week after a 2-week shutdown that touched nearly every industry. The number of deaths have rose slightly over the weekend. However, the decision about whether to pull back to help get the economy moving again will fuel the debate of whether the government is taking too much risk too soon. So, the crisis seems to be easing in every part of Europe, but cases are still be mounting elsewhere, including in the United States, which is now squarely at the center of the global outbreak with more than 555 confirmed cases and 22,000 deaths. However, in France, the Prime Minister is what I guess we should get. The Prime Minister, French President Emmanuel Macron announced Monday the country will extend its coronavirus lockdown measures until May 11th. So, in a national address, he said that he hopes to gradually reopen schools, factories, and businesses after May 11th, but restaurants, bars, cafes, movie theaters, and other public venues will remain closed. He also added that people will be able to return to work after May 11th, and so the country has been under lockdown since March 17th to stop the spread of the virus, and it will now continue until May 11th, and let's just hope that France recovers from its coronavirus crisis until then. The second thing I'd like to talk about today is that governors on the West and East Coast are announcing efforts to plan to reopen. So, two groups of governors, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, announced on today that they were forming regional working groups to help plan when it would be safe to begin to ease restrictions to reopen their economies. So, on the East Coast, governors of Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island agreed to create a committee of public health officials, economic development officials, and their chiefs of staff to work together as they decide when to ease restrictions they have put in place to slow the spread of the virus. They said they would not necessarily act on the exactly same solution, but they will also stress the need for regional cooperation, which I think is really good to help plan together to reopen the states. On the West Coast, governors of California, Oregon, and Washington announced today what they call a Western States Pact to work together on a joint approach to reopening economies. So they would be based on facts, evidence, and science. And so now states everywhere are beginning to try to talk about reopening, and which will obviously also be led by the federal government and President Trump. The third thing that I would like to talk about today is that the worst is over in New York. So, Governor Cuomo said today that for the first time he believes the most horrific phase of the coronavirus outbreak may have passed. So, he has said that the worst is over if we continue to be smart, and I believe we can start on the path to return to normal. However, he has also mentioned that if something reckless happens, or reckless behavior of people just wandering out and going on let's say social distancing or something, and just everybody's just coming out, then these would probably count as reckless behavior, and that could cause the numbers to rise again. And even if the outbreak have reached its apex, I think that it doesn't mean that the crisis is over. It just means that the worst is over. It doesn't mean that more people won't die. It doesn't mean that more people won't get sick. It just means that less people will get sick and less people will die. And after months or weeks, then this crisis will return to normal. But right now, it's past its worst. But I'm just saying it will continue to be infecting people and killing people until at last it's completely wiped out. And so that's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day.